distance from the United States, but this brings the UK into some state of confusion. They are not very clear yet now. Is it an alliance with America, with Europe? He changed the text of his foreign minister on Europe because he was trying to put too much emphasis on Europe. There is a lot of confusion. Britain is looking its way into darkness.
All right, we're going to take a question from a gentleman around here at the side.
Many of the examples given this evening as evidence of Britain's influence are actually examples of the individual influence of Tony Blair. Given he's now departed that office, I'd be interested in the opposition's comments in particular on how sustainable that influence will be as that of a country as opposed to that of an individual.
Malcolm Rifkind,
well,
you're a bit torn on Tony Blair.
I don't see my role as being either defending Tony Blair or Gordon Brown. This would be very uncomfortable for me. But
have a go anyway.
But the contribution the United Kingdom has made hasn't just begun with Tony Blair, whether you like or dislike his policies. For example, the role that the United Kingdom played in restoring the independence of Kuwait. It was a very significant, a very major role, one which it did in alliance with many of the Arab states of the region. I mentioned the Libyan policy. That was not just Tony Blair, that was a bipartisan policy.
You're changing the geography of the Middle East.
I'm sorry?
You're changing the geography of the Middle East.
Well, you may not think Libya's in the Middle East. I happen to do. It's not in it. I think most people would accept it's part of the overall region, and it's not unreasonable to do so. It's as much part of the Middle East as Iran is. It's just as far from Israel, I think, as Iran is.
But it has much more bearing on Israel than Libya, obviously.
That's not the only criteria we apply.
And to the other countries of the region.
Indeed, absolutely so. But the point I'm making is that the United Kingdom, its links are not accidental. It wasn't that Britain woke up one day in 1960 or 1970 and said, think we'll be a major player in the Middle East. You know, Europe and the Middle East are neighbours. We share the Mediterranean. That is a fact of life. The United States is on the other side of the world. China is on the other side of the world. European countries.
The Sixth Fleet is in the Mediterranean. It's
absolutely
the biggest power
so.
in the Mediterranean.
No one's questioning that. The question is whether the United States is to be the sole country outside the region that plays a part in helping produce political settlements.
All right, we'll take another question from a lady in the front row there.
This question's for Baroness Falkner. In this world, money equals power and influence. So can't you argue that Britain's influence and role in the Middle East has not exactly declined? It's changed in nature, and the intensity is still there, but it's different.
I think its role has changed in nature significantly. Yes, it was an imperial power shortly before that period, and it is no longer an imperial power at all. It's part of several multilateral groupings, and it exercises different roles within the different multilateral groupings. I don't think that economic relations alone make for a positive relationship. Mr. Ben-Ami has just said that, but I don't really think that's the solution.
It's important to note that it's really the economic sector in any country plays a very important role in the society as a whole. Yeah. It has a large influence. So you have to take into consideration big companies like Shell and Oh, can I say this on television?
Yes, go ahead. Do it.
Shell, HSBC, all these banks, all these companies, they have their hand is in the society. Even in my country, Qatar, I see all these big companies and all the expatriates in the biggest and the highest roles. Well, there is Qatarization now, and it's developing and it is changing. But you see all the expatriates playing a very important and pivotal role.
Okay, Shlomo Ben-Ami,
I apologize for giving my back to
Absolutely.
the lady. I think that it goes both ways, this business of investments. There is a lot of money from Britain in the Middle East. There is a lot of money from the Middle East in Britain. Does this mean that the Middle East has a leverage on the policies of Britain? Maybe even one could say that the fact that so much Arab money is in London, in the city, and in all kind of equities in Britain, is a threat on Britain, because they could at the moment of crisis, they could withdraw these assets. So we're talking here about a global economy. Everybody is everywhere, and everybody in that sense has a given influence on the other. This is not the issue here, to my mind. The issue is that Britain is a miniature version of the United States. It has overstretched its imperial capacity all over, including in the Middle East. Only that America has the capacity to recover. Annapolis is a good example. Only America is
Malcolm
capable,
Rifkind.
after a debacle,
All right,
to
let
bring
me- we have to move
everybody
it on.
to,
Well,
to Annapolis.
first of all, we are not a miniature version of the United States. The United States used to be a
I didn't say
British
military.
colony.
I said imperial overstretch.
The Americans were our colony who rebelled successfully against us, and it's never been quite the same since. But the main point I wanted to make was, yes, I agree with a lot of what you've said about general trade. But
There
what
is
you are
no
well,
lack
hold on,
of
let me
money
finish.
in the Middle East.
No, let me finish.
Nobody needs
Please, let
Western
him
money.
finish.
There's
Let
a
him
lot
finish.
of money.
I said I've agreed
Let him
with what
finish.
you say about general trade. What you are ignoring is that much of the British economic links with the region are actual defence relationships. Our defence relationship with the United Arab Emirates, our defence support that we give, training and other support to Oman, the obvious Al Yamama relationship with Saudi Arabia. Again, sometimes controversial, but when you
Always.
have, well, but when you have that degree of mutual dependence with the Saudis, for example, a major country in the region, depending on the United Kingdom for a very large part of their air supply.